okay, I'd like to go over some clues that are in the book. And you're going, well, there isn't clues in the book. But if we read on the Thrill of the Chase on his cover, it goes, this memoir includes a true story about a secret treasure and an outrageous dare. Unlock the clues that are scattered among these pages, and you can go home with a bronze chest that is full of gold and precious jewelry that is almost too heavy for one person to carry. Anyway, that's saying that there's clues scattered, scattered throughout the pages. And then there's another place. And then on page 133 of The Thrill of the Chase, he goes, there are also subtle clues sprinkled in the stories. That's right after he does the poem, and then he goes, there are also other subtle clues sprinkled in the stories. So right there, he's saying there's clues in the book. And there's clues in the pictures, in the drawings, in the books, in the scrapbooks, in his words. There's clues everywhere if you can see them. So I'm going to tell you my solve, just briefly, because a lot of people aren't understanding some of the things, because all I'm dealing with is the cemetery. And because most of the clues are given about the cemetery. There's plenty of clues out there to get you to the cemetery. Like, there's Ripon. He's talking about the elephants. Don't stomp on they're stomping on the ants and ignoring the elephants, or however that goes. And then, and then every pond and bubbling up spring on Mammoth Hot Spring has a name, and you can find that in the books. And marbles, or there's Marble Spring. There's lots of things that get you there. If E.C. Walters did an article, and I'll have to read that sometime. And he goes over lots of things. I figured out most of them before I read his article, but I wouldn't be surprised if he worked. The guy that wrote the article, E.C. Walters, was another actor that Forrest Fenn employed. Forrest Fenn was giving away so many clues. I really think he wanted it found, but he was really confident about the end not being discovered. He was really confident that nobody was going to figure out the way that it worked at the very end. And maybe I have, maybe I haven't. That's up for dispute. I believe that I have, and we'll go from there. So, to begin with, I believe you start in Gardner. Gardner was the first place that they brought the railroad into Yellowstone. So, when you get off there, the people they halt right there. They're the warm water. People are the warm water. Anyway, and I believe his poem is describing his birth to his death. So you can compute out the poem any way you want. There's been others that have. If you've been digging into this, you've heard the theory, So that's where Warm Waters halts, is right there in Gardner there. Or you could even go to Boiling River, but that's kind of not really warm water. But people are warm waters, and there's a lot of things that point to that if we wanted to get into warm waters, and I could do it. But anyway, so begin at where Warm Waters halt, take it in the canyon down, go south down the canyon, and if you go on the old stagecoach road, it goes right by the beaver pond, so it goes. Begin at where Warm Waters halts, take it in the canyon down, not too far, but too far to walk, about 7 miles. Put in below the home of Brown. So the home of Brown is Beaver Ponds, and put in is into Mammoth Hot Springs. You're putting into there, and from there, it's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. The cemetery is on your left, and it's drawing nigh. That's the end of your life. And no place for the meek. There was a trapper. His last name was Meek, and he was in that area. Indians have killed people right in the doorway of the motel there. Life's no place for the meek in a lot of ways. From there, it's no place for the meek. The end is ever dry night. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. So there is a creek there, and it has no name. That's why it's your creek. And, water high is Mammoth Hot Springs and Canary Springs right there. And Mammoth Hot Springs puts out 2,000 pounds worth of settlement a day. So that's heavy loads. So, there you have it. That qualifies, for your water high and heavy loads. It is a waterfall and so forth. So there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, and that takes us right into, if you've been wise, you're into the cemetery, and it's on the left there. And it's right after you cross the creek. You just go down the road a little, and it's right there. And so that gets us to where most of the clues are that are solid. And you're supposed to find a precise spot. Forrest Fenn's special place was Yellowstone, and a lot of things point to Yellowstone because Yellowstone, Mammoth Hot Springs is the headquarters of Yellowstone. Mammoth Hot Springs is the history of Yellowstone, and Forrest Fenn's a history buff. So everything that represents Yellowstone is Mammoth Hot Springs. It's the capital, the headquarters, whatever you want to call it. There's a cannon there up on Capitol Hill that gets you in that area. There's a fort. There's a museum. He's always talking about museums, and that's in Mammoth Hot Springs. It's not there any longer, but and it was when he's grown up, and there's so much history in that area. So, look into Mammoth Hot Springs. That's where it was at. So, and I think E.C. Walters did a lot of it, and it was a case for Yellowstone was his article on Del Neitzel's site, and I'll do a video on that if anybody wants to see it. Oh, and so Yellowstone is the box, because Yellowstone used to be an exact box on the map. And the treasures are all of the wonderful sites in Yellowstone are the treasure. So that's Forrest Fenn's treasure box there. So he could go anywhere out by a pine tree and throw himself on the treasure, and boom, die there, and he's on top of his treasure. And another thing, I know the treasure is wet. Yeah, well, Yellowstone's wet. It's got a lot of lakes. It's just physics. And there's ton, I'll share my national park with you. I'd like to share some experience and the trip. Anyway, we can just go on and on and on. But, Yellowstone's where it's at, and Mammoth Hot Springs is Yellowstone. So if you're into, if Forrest Fenn, that's his treasure. And so Mammoth Hot Springs represents Yellowstone. So, in the first stanza, it goes, as I have gone alone in there, and as is a yellow stone, arsenic. It's yellow, and there's other things that get you there. It's throughout that whole poem. The poem is ingenious. I mean, he felt like an architect. There's no architect that doesn't use numbers in some way. So, the poem's full of numbers. The solve has a lot of numbers, and they're at a 13-year-old level, so you don't have to have any special knowledge if you went to school for any length of time. So anyway, let's go on with some anomalies that are supposed to point out, and they are clues. So right here we're in the cemetery, and he's given this clue how to figure out the cemetery. And right here you have this boot right here, and you have this boot right down here in the bottom here, and then you have this guy right here smoking a peace pipe, and then you have a guy here smoking a peace pipe. So just take the chest and go in peace, and then this is kind of like a Y right here, and that's a Y. So if you've been wise and found the blaze, there's the blaze, there's the blaze, and these boots actually have an X on them. X marks the spot. And his belt buckle, you could actually get a clue out of his belt buckle. Anyway, so you're like, well, what's that got to do with you? But if you've been watching any of mine, you know that there's shoes at the end, and we're going to go over that. So the end marker here is a 5-year-old boy. His mother cut his throat. That's how you get the color red that's in lots of his hints in the books. Anyway, and these shoes are on top of it, and he's 5 years old. There's 99. Anyway, there's lots of hints here. Anyway, this boot and this boot, and you gotta know that he talks about losing his shoes if he had his shoes on, and there's so many shoe hints throughout the books. It's crazy if you haven't noticed. Okay, so we're in the thrill of the chase here, and there's this shoe that belongs to nobody. It's an anomaly. These are Omegas, and there's an Omega, and then he's under the wagon. And, there's almost a smiley face there. Face is 15, gets you the end. Anyway, there's an anomaly. Anyway, here's another anomaly. He calls these, shoes, homemade shoes. Well, they're more like sandals. And if you know anything about this, right here at the end marker, this boy's father was a wheelwright. So not only do you get shoes out of this deal, you get a wheelwright out of it, because they're made out of tires and shoes. So there's an anomaly dealing with shoes. X marks the spot. Here's one. The only capital letter in the titles is I, which is a 9. It's chapter 18, which would be 9 plus 9 is. Anyway, just a thought. And that has something to do with I, and I is page 99. Or the mysterious 99. Yeah, let's follow that rabbit hole for just a little bit. This is back to the boot one. If you go to here, it goes, I wish I hadn't, and it just happens to be on page 99. Just a coincidence. Here's another one, just a second. Here we are on page 35, and it goes, patent leather shoes. Shoes are 66. And then you turn the page here, and we got flat tires, and we got tires again with shoes. So I don't know, they're anomalies. This is about shoes again, and they throw it in the trash, and trash has a word value. You got 66. Trash has a word value of 66. Just some more shoe things. You see shoes all the time. And page 126, and it's chapter 26, and that. Anyway, there's a shoe here, and just a coincidence. He's got tires with a smiley face, and that's 15. Wheelwright, lost and found. Just coincidence. Shoes and tires, and tires are found in the poem. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. Or listen good. So hear me on, listen good. Good year. I didn't come up with that. Good year. And then, good year has shoes with flying wings is part of their thing. And I don't know. So there's at least 2 places in the poem that you can find tires or wheels. And then, the famous try the wheel. I guess if you're into this, you've heard of try the wheel. In the cemetery, you got to mirror it, and on 44 is a kind of a mirror, 4 and 4, on page 44, and twins. I mean, pretty out there. Here's a scrapbook, 130, uh, which, not tired yet. He's just going shoes. But there's slippers, but, here's a mirror, you know. Anyway, if you can't see it, I don't know what to say. I don't even know what scrapbook this one is. I'm sure I could find it, but there's Forrest Fenn with his slippers on again, and the blaze is in the middle because the blaze is in the middle, and then shoe and shoe. We got a shoe here and a shoe here. And I don't know, I mean, that's pretty right in your face. Oh, in your face, 15, the end, 15. Well, anyway, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but who cares? I hardly care. Anyway, like, subscribe. I'll put out some more. I don't know. Maybe somebody can see. Put it in the notes. I mean, come on. At least troll me. There's got to be some trolls out there that's got enough energy to do some comments. Tell me how bad of a guy I am for digging in a cemetery. Do something. I mean, like, subscribe, dislike. Write a nice comment. That'd be really nice. I don't know. Just jump up and down. Do a circle. I don't know. Get another hobby. Tell me to get a new hobby. Something. Listen to my wife. Go that direction. Talk to you later. Keep smiling.